to the Daily Englisher. Today I'm going to talk about a song by an American singer and songwriter called Suzanne Vega. I think that's how you say it. The song is called Tom's Diner and it was written in 1981, but apparently it didn't actually become popular until it was remixed in 1990. I think it's a great one to study because it's a cool song and it's also a story with some useful language that you can pick up. It's also a brilliant one for beginners because a lot of the song is in the present simple and the present continuous. I'll read you the start of the song. I am sitting in the morning at the diner on the corner. I am waiting at the counter for the man to pour the coffee, and he fills it only halfway, and before I even argue, he is looking out the window at someone coming in. Kia ora, in Stick News today, a woman in the UK is suing 6 newspapers after they ran stories based on her daughter's exaggerated claims about a party.
A 15-year-old English girl had a party at her parents' holiday house in Spain. She wrote about the party on her Bebo page, embellishing the story to make the party sound a lot wilder than it was. Newspapers then picked up the story, and now her mother is suing the newspapers. The Independent said newspaper reports made the party sound like a riot of sex and wanton damage, fueled by underage drinking that only ended when the police arrived. In actual fact, the mother says no alcohol was served or permitted, none of the guests took part in sexual acts, the police were not called, and only minor damage was caused to one of the doors. Her lawyer said the case raised important issues of libel, privacy and copyright in relation to the unauthorized use of material taken from social networking sites.
And that was Stick News for Friday the 11th of July. Kia ora. Today's word is pretend. This is a line from Tom's Diner. I'm pretending not to see them. Pretend. Act so as to make it appear that something is the case, when in fact it is not. I did a search for pretend and I found a blog post called 4 Ways to Pretend You're Working. This was one of the suggestions. Hunch over your keyboard, look intently at the screen, and put on a few facial expressions like worry and stress.
What do you get if you cross an elephant and a rhino? Elephina.
What's a diner? What do you call cheap restaurants in New Zealand? How about now? What's the difference between a cafe and a restaurant? What are tea rooms? Good question. I don't really know. It's an American word. I think it's just another word for a restaurant. Hang on, I'll look it up. Diner, noun, especially American English. A small, usually cheap restaurant. Well, when I grew up in most small towns in New Zealand, there were tea rooms, fish and chip shops, and Chinese takeaways. Now I think there are a lot of cafes. Well, I think it depends on the country, but in New Zealand a restaurant is usually more expensive and you can usually only go there if you're having a meal. You can't just go for a drink. But a cafe, you can go there just to have a drink like a coffee, or you can have a meal as well, and it's usually cheaper and more casual. Well, my image of a tea room in New Zealand is like a really old-fashioned cafe. Like, you can just buy a drink or you can also have a meal as well, but the food's probably pretty bad and they probably have drip coffee and lace tablecloths and fake flowers. They might not be like that, but that's my image.
To make a story more interesting by adding details that are not always true. A. Embellish. B. Fuel. C. Riot. D. Unauthorized. E. Wild. Embellish. Lacking control or discipline. Wild. A violent disturbance of the peace by a crowd. Riot. Without official permission. Unauthorized. To increase something. Fuel.
And that was the Daily English Show. See you tomorrow. Bye.